I want to return now to Ukraine, where some have actually celebrated overnight on their national public holiday to commemorate 31 years of independence, alongside the 6-month anniversary of Russia's invasion. And what a 6 months it has been. 9,000 Ukrainian military deaths, 25,000 Russian soldiers dead. The cost of total destruction is estimated at close to $113 billion US, with a further 200 billion needed to eventually rebuild. And despite Ukraine's valiant defence, Ukraine has lost control of nearly 20% of its territory to the Russians. So joining me now live from Kiev, where it's just gone 11 a.m, is Ukraine MP Inna Sovsun. Inna, congratulations on your independence 31 years ago. Firstly, how subdued were the celebrations yesterday in the capital?
Well, of course, the celebrations have not been very loud. The government did not allow for any public celebrations. People were not allowed to have a big celebrations on the street. But I'll tell you this, the general feeling inside the Ukrainian society was extremely celebrative, because everybody were respecting the independence so much more than we did a year ago. I think now we value and we understand the importance of this independence so much more, even compared to what we felt half a year ago as the society. So despite there were no big celebrations, big parades and all of that, actually the general feeling was that of rather festive, but at the same time, of course, rather cautious, because you know that there were lots of information saying that the Russians might strike with the missile attacks, and people were advised to go to the shelters whenever they heard the air raid alerts. And yesterday in Kiev alone, we heard over 10 air raid alerts in the city. Luckily, no targets have been hit in Kiev. But of course, you know about the railway station in Dnipropetrovsk region, which has been killed, with 22 people confirmed dead as of right now, including 2 children. So it is what it is. It is the celebration that we could have had this year. But I'll tell you this, everybody just so committed to continue this fight, this war for our independence. And I think yesterday was just a good day to remind ourselves of that.
Just on the attack on that station, if nothing else, you'd have to say the Russians are predictable, aren't they? Targeting another large group of innocent citizens to try and match your Independence Day. More death and destruction, just awful.
Yes, it did. That was terrible. And I'll tell you this, we were waiting for something like this to happen. But we still hoped that maybe they wouldn't do that. Maybe they wouldn't attack a clearly civilian target. Because now I don't understand how they will claim that this was a military target if there were 2 children killed over there. Yes. Children who definitely are not on the military targets. But they were in those trains, and one was in the train, another was in the car nearby, 11 and 6 years old. So that is just heartbreaking. And I think the whole world needs to remember that those are the war criminals, and they need to be punished one way or another.
Absolutely. British PM Boris Johnson made a surprise appearance too. Have a look at this.
And history teaches us that when a country has a language, an identity, a pride, a love of its traditions, a patriotic feeling that simply grows with every month and year that passes, when a country of that kind is engaged in a war for its very existence, I tell you, my friends, that war is only going to end one way. Ukraine will win.
Inna, how do your people view Boris Johnson's cooperation and connection to Ukraine? This is probably his last duty, certainly international duty, as British PM.
Well, I'll tell you this. I know there are lots of debates internally inside the UK about Boris Johnson, but we Ukrainians see him as the leader of this pro-Ukrainian coalition, and he is seen very favorably. Trust me, I'll give you one example. there is one rather popular cafe, like a bakery in Kiev, which is, and they have a baked good baked thingy, which is called the Boris Johnson, which is like the making of his name, but made it sound Ukrainian, and it's extremely popular, and everybody's going there to try the bakery that is named after him. That is just for you to get this feeling as to what extent people appreciate what he has been doing.
Yeah.
And of course, in terms of numbers, the biggest number of weapons we're getting from the United States. But in terms of speaking in favor of Ukraine, seeing the strategic level of threats that the whole world is seeing, I think in that sense, Boris Johnson has actually been a good leader for the West altogether, and we very much hope that the next Prime Minister, whoever she might be, would actually continue with that policies. Yeah,
that's a great salute as he finishes his tenure as Prime Minister. That's a great connection to the people of Ukraine. When you look around at your country physically and look at the pictures that appear online or on anywhere that you see them from the south to the east where the Russians are, you must think and see the bombing and see the fighting and see the destruction. It must feel like it's a terrible long way back to normality.
Indeed. A couple of weeks ago, I was traveling back from my parents' place. They live near Kiev, and apparently there was some traffic jam, and my navigator suggested that I go through Irpin. And I was driving through Irpin on my way from my parents to my own place in Kiev, and seeing that, I've seen those destroyed buildings before, because I brought different delegations of different members of parliament from other countries to Irpin. But then just driving past them, like it is part of my normal life, or what is supposed to be normal life. Trust me, that was actually heartbreaking, because I had to see that with my own eyes. And that is not even the worst, because what is happening in Donbass, in the east, is so much worse, because you all have seen the images from Mariupol. But unfortunately, the whole Donbass that was recently occupied by Russia, it looks like this. There are some towns that even Russian military command over there, they say, like, it makes no sense to try to rebuild the town of Volnovakha, which was a hometown for 20,000 people. So this level of destruction is amazing. But what we're trying to focus on is to see it as an opportunity to build a better society, both in terms of infrastructure and then also in terms of, societal relations and how we govern those. So we're trying to use it as a chance to rebuild, but not rebuild what we had, but to rebuild something better for ourselves and for our children.
You're an inspiration. Great to catch up with you once again, Inna Sovsun. Thank you very much for your time.